Dear friends of revolutions, today we'll talk about how one of the biggest financial players can change our lives forever. As I'm recording this video, Goldman Sachs announced that they will launch free tokenization projects. These projects have the goal to connect traditional with digital finance. They want to connect, for example, money market funds and also real estate holdings and convert them into digital tokens. They want to use blockchain technology for this, which will make it possible to buy, hold and also trade these tokens in a digital market. But let's illustrate this with an example in the real estate space. Let's say Goldman Sachs has a real estate property that is commercial, that is also in an area where people in general are interested in investing. Let's say this property is valued at around 100 million. First, the bank has to check. They have to check its market demand, also the possibility for fractional ownership, and of course, very importantly, market compliance. Once they do that, they have to check if it's possible to do fractional ownership and if this makes it more accessible to the market. As of course, there are not many people who can invest 100 million or don't have the credit score to get a full amount of 100 million. So they have to check if this makes it more accessible to the market. As with each token, a fraction of an ownership is possible. And of course, this would make it a lot easier for people to invest in the property, as you don't have to pay 100 million all at once. You can just pay a much smaller amount and then hold just a fraction. Once this is decided, they have to set up smart contracts. Those smart contracts are basically then responsible for the management in this case. For example, for the transfers of holders, if, for example, people are selling their tokens or want to buy more. And also, for example, if there's a rental income, the distribution can be done automatically, which of course enhances the fractional costs that are becoming less. And also it decreases the paperwork, which traditionally has been a mess so far, and it can really take forever. And before they do that, however, they have to decide between private and public blockchains. There are a couple of measures for this. For example, they have to decide on the importance of transparency, also on the market accessibility. That is also very important. As when you look, for example, at a public blockchain like Ethereum allows for more scalability and also transparency and decentralization, which means that people can see the transactions. And this, of course, enhances trust and of course, also allows a broader market access. On the other side, there might be private blockchains, where you can dictate more the scalability and also the data. And this might be more important for projects where there is stricter regulatory compliance important. In the case of Goldman, for example, if they have a $100 million property, it would make more sense to launch it on a public blockchain, as it allows a broader market access in this case. So they could, for example, launch it over the Ethereum blockchain. First, of course, they have to sell the tokens. This has to be done for a compliant platform. The tokens have to be sold to the investors. Also, there has to be a secondary market, and the secondary market is very important, as this is what makes the market really liquid, as people can then buy and trade these tokens, which is of course very important. And this has actually not been possible before. You only had the chance to buy or sell the property all at once. It was not possible to divide it into fractional ownership. So summarizing the utility, there are a couple of advantages that come with this. As first, like I said, it boosts the liquidity. It makes it possible for people to invest who don't have the money of, let's say 100 million. It makes it possible to invest maybe only 4 or 5 million or even less, depending of course on the projects and of the amount required to invest in these tokens. As of course, I don't think that a $100 million project will be divided into, let's say, $50 per token. I think there will be too much of a division basically. So it makes it a lot more liquid. Also, it allows basically people from all around the world to invest, which is of course great. Before it wasn't possible. You had to be there, and there was also a lot of paperwork had to be done, and it really took forever. In this case, it allows you to invest from all around the world, which of course again enhances the liquidity. And on the last side, like I just mentioned, it reduces the paperwork that can be, most of it can be really done automatically with smart contracts. There's not so much paperwork required when you transfer ownership of the tokens. Also, it decreases the paperwork, as again it's managed by smart contracts, which of course makes it a lot more easier for people to buy and trade tokens, and it goes much faster too. So this brings us to the pros and cons. Well, on the pro side, it's a market innovation. It's a market innovation that allows people to invest from all around the world. Also, it increases the liquidity, like I just mentioned, which is, of course, in my opinion, even the biggest aspect, as especially real estate properties who are in the higher millions, in this case 100 million, it's very difficult to find somebody to get the deal done, to buy and sell it. So of course this could be massive in this part. And of course it's also something that makes profits for the banks, as the banks can offer their new financial products. They can offer new financial products, and also the risk management changes, as you're not only dependent on a single party to pay the whole price. So this of course is a win-win for consumers and also for banks. And also it allows diversification of the portfolio, which is of course makes it also great for people who are actually interested in the real estate market. But the real estate market is really high cap. You need a lot of financial resources, or you need at least a high credit score to get this amount of credit. So this makes it also a lot easier for them to diversify and also potentially achieve a higher yield. On the other side, it can be still seen as complex, and there is still some legal questions that have to be asked and answered, as it's still a bit unsure, as while it goes with blockchain technology, and while blockchain has been very secure so far, who is to blame if the blockchain does not work or has a problem? What happens then? So there are still a couple of questions that have to be asked, also on the legal side when you trade those tokens, as this is still the beginning of blockchain technology. There are a lot of questions, not only the security, but also from the compliance side. So this is still a very questionable decision. However, when looking at the future, I think it's a really good right step in the right direction. And I personally, if I can, of course it's not financial advice, I would be interested to invest in something like this, as this is really interesting. It allows people who don't have all the money at once, and it allows people to be from all around the world to invest in real estate. This is for me really interesting, as I'm also really interested in the real estate market. But unfortunately, the financial resources in my case are not enough to invest into a $100 million property. So this is of course an opportunity for me if this really happens. Of course we have to see. In the case of Goldman, I could see this, they're probably going to try it first with institutions to see if it really works. And in this case, if it's a $100 million property, I don't think they will make tokens or they allow ownership. I think you need to have at least like a couple million at least, I think. I don't think it will be divided into like $50 per token. I think there will be too less. And I think this would also make it too difficult and too complex, as there are still then a couple of questions regarding how you manage this, which could be too much if, for example, 100,000 people hold each like 10 tokens. That for me is would make it too complex. So I think they're going to test it first with institutions. However, I would be really interested. I will definitely keep my eye on this. And this is definitely something to make some money. Of course, this is not financial advice, but this is very interesting. You can really make some money, especially in the real estate market. And this could make it more accessible for people, small investors like us. And it's not some kind of crypto scams, like some pump and dump. So this is definitely something I might be interested in. In my opinion, will also be part of a further trend. But of course, we have to wait. We have to see also how Goldman exactly wants to do it. As so far, they just announced they just announced how they're going to do it, but they never really went into a lot of details. But I think this is definitely a massive opportunity for Goldman, as they could really start a trend in their case. They could start a trend into digitalizing asset more and more. And I think the real estate market is definitely something that could profit from this. But let me know your opinion. Let me know, do you think the project will be a success? And do you think small investors will actually have a chance? Or do you think it's just going to be for institutions and the requirements to invest will be too high for the small investors? Let me know. Also, make sure to check out my other videos that are recently uploaded. I will see you in the next video.